Okay, we'll call the meeting to order for the City of Saratoga Springs, Tuesday, September 3rd, 2024 at 6 p.m. Present tonight, I have Councilwoman Barton, Councilman McComber, Wilden, Karn, and Wadman. We do have a quorum. I've asked Councilman Karn to lead us in our invocation and Councilwoman Barton to lead us in our pledge.
Our Father in heaven, we're grateful to be gathered here as city leaders and administration to make decisions on things that affect our city and the areas around us. Father, we're grateful for discernment and the ability we have to make these types of decisions in this great city and state and country, and ask that we'll have that discernment with us tonight and do so in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Oh, sorry. Please recite the pledge with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, public input. Time has been set aside for the public to express ideas, concerns, or comments for subject matter not listed on the agenda. There is a public hearing tonight. If you're here for the budget amendments for the fiscal year 2024-2025, please hold your comments for that public hearing. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes. Please be respectful in your comments. Please avoid repetitive comments, and total time is limited to 15 minutes. Is anybody here for public input? If you'd come up to the podium and state your name and address for the record.
My name is Helen Robson, address 158 East Inlet Spring Drive, Saratoga Springs, Utah, 84045. I have a question. I have two things I wanted to address. Do I do one and then break and then the other and just keep them both under 15 minutes? How do you do that?
3 minutes. 3 minutes total.
3 minutes, 15 for everybody. Got it. Okay. And I can do both? Okay, great. I actually am coming in on something that I've reached out to 3 of the council members already about, and I appreciate your help and input with it, but I really felt like it was important that I still showed up and did public comment on it. I sent in an email as well. And I'm grateful to see that we have Chief Burton here too, because this has to do with the police department. So thank you for being here. The last couple of months, I guess you guys all have experienced that we've had traffic lights going out quite often. And it has led to traffic being backed up more than a mile on both sides of Redwood Road, and then up and down Pioneer Crossing a little bit too. So one of the days that happened, I actually called the police department and I asked if they could send out some help to direct traffic, because it was bad. It was really bad. And I was told by the person there, and I'm gonna use some notes here because I accidentally drank some caffeine this morning and it's still affecting me. Messes with my brain. I forget how sensitive I am to caffeine. I was told that it was not our responsibility. Our police officers have more important things to do than direct traffic. And if they're directing traffic, they can't perform other important tasks we need for them. I know we're not a metropolis. I mean, we're not like this huge city with really major things like gang violence and stuff. But I really do feel like the big problem we deal with is traffic here, congestion. It is so bad. So much development going in, and it's just bogging down our roads. And when people can't get to work, and intersections like those that are so dangerous have nobody to direct them, that's when we have accidents and we really do have something on our hands. I'm not here to complain because I have a solution I think that would be really helpful. I used to be on the Veterans Advisory Board, and I know we were always looking for ways that we could help in the city. I know we have a lot of retired people from military, police department, and there's also a lot of people who like to volunteer around here. And I found out recently that we do have a group called CAPS, and I think it would be a really great idea if, as part of their volunteer work, instead of doing traffic for games and stuff like that, if we could have them come out and help our police officers with directing traffic. I would recommend doing a big group text. I know that sucks, but people don't seem to volunteer until they see no one else is volunteering. And if they see that nobody's coming to the forefront, then we'll have more that come and help out. And they've been trained. I also was told that we had a shortage of police officers, and we have more now too. My husband's military. I know you don't take, vacation. So Anyways, I guess I won't be able to get to my next thing, or can I if I sit down and come back up?
Councilman Carn?
I'm comfortable with a few more minutes, if you are, Mayor.
Okay. Oh, and the last thing on that, those intersections also in the winter get snow drifts in the lights, and it makes it so you can't use them, so it's another issue.
LED on hot.
Yeah, we almost got T-boned last winter, so I wanted to bring that up. Okay, my other thing that I wanted to bring up, we are an area where we have a lot of development happening, and I know that we have our hands tied a lot because majority of our legislators work in the development industry, where they've changed laws to benefit the developers, where they are exempt from taxes and helping with our schools. I noticed we have a couple developers here, so I just want to bring up, even though you legally can get away with not contributing to our schools, I want you to know you're in Utah. People don't have 1 and 2 children when they move here. They bring 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 kids with them. When you come in and develop in our city and you don't contribute to helping with our schools, you leave that on us. You make all your money here and you leave us with major problems. Problems where we don't even have money to like build a school for the next 5 to 6 years. And we are gonna be doubling our size in the next 10 years. We need developers who are in here and others. Please take into consideration, it may be legal for you to get away with not contributing to our schools, but just remember, what you give, you'll get back. And when you give to our community and they see that you are here for us, the families, not just make money off of our community and leave, you will have so much more coming from our community to you, and it will pay back to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else here for public input? Seeing none, I will close the public input. Councilwoman McComber?
I'm just waiting, if you had any comments, I just have a couple things. So, couple things. One, I appreciate the comment, actually. We don't engage while you're doing public input, but I actually called into staff to have police come and go to an intersection. It was Pioneer Crossing in Mountain View. I literally sat there and the lights weren't even flashing red, and the people coming out of Eagle Mountain, like 40 cars were just all turning left and not caring that it should be treated like a stop sign. And I saw 2 accidents happen because of it. And so I 100% agree that we should be, because our police department, I apologize whoever did make that comment. I hopefully that can be turned in so that can be addressed as a training opportunity. Because something that's very important to me is our police are to protect and serve. And that's the service side. Yes, protecting us from gangs and other violent things happening, but the serving side, that is absolutely a key role in community policing. So thank you for bringing that to my attention and our attention as well. I also just wanted to, a couple things. I've just noticed, like, as we're getting close to fall and winter, if we can like get a little bit on top of like Market Street, the weeds, all the garbage on the street, and the gutters. When we have rain, that garbage goes and clogs the storm drains, and then it floods, and we have issues. Redwood Road flooded a couple spots, and I think that maybe this is part of that, but if we could just, there's a ton of weeds on all the islands on Market Street in particular, but that's just an example. If we can make sure that we are just remembering that our Parks Department manages our islands in our roads. So we can maybe just step on that. They've done a great job this year. I know I've complained about this in the past, but I just noticed in particular, Market Street was quite bad. And then my last thing is it's windy, it's fall, we're getting into fall. The developers need to make sure that they're wetting their dirt. Because the dirt builds up and then it just blows really, really bad, and it becomes, I literally had to pull over off the side of the road on Redwood Road the other day because I did not feel safe continuing to drive at any speed, let alone 50 miles an hour, because of the amount of dust that was being created from a developer, not just the fields. Because they can't water the entire field, but when they're actually turning the dirt up and then the wind picks it up and carries it across. So those are just some concerns that I have had, and I appreciate and turn the time back over to the mayor.
Okay, thank you. Any other reports from the council? Councilman Carn?
Yeah, this isn't technically a city issue, but it kind of goes along with public comment tonight. I've been quite involved in some school district things as part of our interlocal. And I just want it to be on the record that Westlake was the school built for 1,750 students.
How many are there?
The warm body count at the first week of school was over 3,200 students. So yes, they've got trailers, yes, they have portables, but the cafeteria was built for 1,750 students. The hallways were built for 1,700, everything. Alpine School District, one single lunch. Talking to my student, she doesn't eat at the school because it takes 45 minutes to get through the line for a 50-minute lunch. So she doesn't eat at the school. I know this isn't a city issue. It does go into our interlocal and that entire process. I have some ideas that I'll work
It's
with.
not a city issue, but it is, because
It
it's still
is.
affecting our citizens.
It does, 100%.
Well, the thing is, what about kids who have to eat school lunch because they're on assisted lunch?
Yeah.
And they can't.
And that, I'm just using the high school as an example, right?
junior
Both our middle schools are over capacity. I can't say that all of our elementaries are. Last I saw, 9 of the 13 in the West were pushing 1,000 students.
That's over.
So, it goes back to the public input we had tonight, is a problem. I'm working with staff and some ideas, and I'll talk to council members about it on ways we can help put Alpine on notice that they're in violation of fire code.
In fact, have chief send them a note.
Yeah, we're talking about some ideas.
Okay, Councilman Wadman?
So after talking with staff, Mark, and others, I thought I'd bring this up here. In Harvest Hills Elementary, we have a beautiful park, and a lot of people come in, especially this time of year, participate with soccer. The road that I'm finding, that what I'm hearing from citizens is cars parked on the east side, on the west side, barely allows one car to pass through. Audrey's experienced this, I've experienced this. I've kind of learned to just avoid that area, but the citizens are starting to voice their concern now. As a matter of fact, there was a
I had to-
communication that,
Yeah, so I literally had to drive backwards for an entire block because there was no way for the cars that were coming at me and for me. Obviously, we both can't go side by side. I had 3 cars behind them and having behind me, so I'm driving backwards for a block with little soccer kids running around and people open the doors and stuff like that to be able to get out of the mess. So, yeah, there's gotta be something, I don't know what we can do. Again, I don't,
yeah, and I don't know what the process is here when we're talking, what the action items, but I was just thinking if we could look into it, or it's just Harvest,
Providence Drive basically right now,
yeah, just,
but it happens along Vineyard as well.
and if that was the only place to park, I went, well, we've got to maybe be safer there, but there's an entire school that nobody's, there's 2 churches, there's a elementary school that nobody's parking in their parking lot, so. Anyway,
Dangerous, it really is. It's unfortunate. I just hope that nothing.
So that's something that we need to look at, no parking one side of this park side of the street or that mark?
Yeah, Councilmember Wadman brought this up with me earlier today. We can certainly look at it. One of the challenges that we will have, and we will, we'll look at it. When you have something like this and you block off, say, one side with no parking, it's just going to push it further and push it out into the neighborhood even further. So we'll look at it and we'll see what can be done. We'll go take a look.
thanks.
Okay.
It compounds and it just moves the problems to where other people get it. It's
Well,
tricky.
That's why I feel like this area, it won't go into the other neighborhoods because there's not really, I mean, it's, again, right there, it's a church and a school. So if they can't park on the road, you go past there and the school is open. The churches are open, there's spots. And so we're hoping if we can do something.
Can't push, we can't push city traffic into private property.
No, but that logically, that's probably where they're gonna park. And we can't do that, but again, they're,
When they gate there.
yeah, then they wouldn't be able to. But it's still, any which way, if we have to block off every side of the east side, every side and the west side, it's extremely dangerous and it's really not okay if it's something that we should be fixing, right? Like I literally drove backwards for a block, hoping I wouldn't hit a little kid, right? Or run into somebody's door that was open, so.
Any other,
Harvest Hills is different because our roads are so stinking tiny compared to a lot of the other neighborhoods, right? We have no roads, but it is what it is.
any other comments from the council? Just for MAG, the question was brought up by Mayor Osler and Mayor Johnson to get MAG to report back from UTA about what's happening with our fifth sales tax that the county enacted for UTA. Currently, the assumption is it is being blended into Salt Lake County to improve their public transit and not ours. So they want a full accounting from MAG to make sure that that money's coming back and not being, if we had $100,000 and we earned 50, they didn't take 50 of our original 100 and then move it over and shell game it. So they have asked that that is brought back into MAG to give a full accounting of what they are doing with our funds for Utah County. They didn't have an answer. They were tide went out.
They basically had deer in headlights.
Yes. So that was a good catch on their part as the mayor's representatives for the county on the UTA board. Okay, anything from administration, Mark?
No, nothing at this time, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay. No need for closed session?
We do have closed session
Okay,
tonight.
we do have closed session this evening. Okay, consent items. I will entertain a motion.
So made.
I have a first from Councilman McComber, second from Councilman Carn. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Public hearing on the budget amendments for the fiscal year 2024-2025.
Evening, Mayor and Council. This is the second budget amendment for this year. Three main items of note. We're asking for the budget to be increased for software, for some new HR software. We're also asking for monies for the Public Works site for some leveling to go on there. And then also for us to increase the budget for the cemetery so we can move forward on that at this time. Any questions for staff?
Any questions from the council? If not, we'll open this up for a public hearing. This is a public hearing for the budget amendment for fiscal year 2024-2025, Resolution R24-49. Is anybody here for public input? Please avoid repetitive comments. Please state your name and address for the record. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Is anybody here for this item? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing and entertain a motion from the council.
I move that we approve budget amendment for fiscal year 2024-2025, Resolution R24-49 dated today.
I have a first from Councilman McComber.
Second.
Second from Councilman Wilden. Any further discussion?
My only comment here is 2 weeks ago, we approved phase 1 of the cemetery. This is paying for it.
Correct.
This is great.
And additional comment, just they came in more expensive than the original estimates.
Yeah.
Because everything's more expensive.
Okay.
But awesome that we're doing it finally.
20, almost 30 years to get a cemetery. Okay, Councilman Wadman.
Aye.
Carn.
Aye.
Wilden.
Aye.
McComber.
Aye.
Barton.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
I did
Mayor,
hear,
when do we expect being able to sell the first plots? Have we gotten a date yet?
The construction for the cemetery is scheduled by next summer, is that right?
Completion is by June or July, assuming there's no weather or other.
So
we could
potentially
sell
we
them at
could sell
Splash.
these at Splash.
Jeremy, is that,
We'll mark it, be our first permanent resident.
is that,
Years ago,
sorry, is that conditioned upon those other roads going in and around there, or?
No, we're putting.
we're putting that road in.
Okay,
We are
okay,
coming into a phase under construction by Renard.
okay,
But they're moving
Indicated that
Yeah.
we are under construction.
okay.
ahead of us.
Yeah, I walked up there the other day, and there's a lot,
He's ahead of us, so he'll be
Are you
done.
already picking out your spot?
I'm dying to get in there.
Okay, we're good.
See, I gotta use it.
Okay.
No, I really do, if Annalisa's not here, but if we can make sure that we are planning on having marketing and selling those at Splash.
Yeah.
Okay.
I believe staff right now is working on looking at management software. for that.
Is that part of the budget amendment today? I'm just kidding.
Not this budget amendment.
I'm teasing.
I mean, you think about it, when we sell lots to people.
It's a big, yeah.
It is a big record-keeping
Yeah.
thing. So we're digging into it, and that's just part of what we're going to be taking care of between now and when we're ready to open the cemetery.
And that'll help us understand what we need to charge as well. So,
Okay, perfect. Okay, business items. First one is business item 1, amendments to Title 19 Land Development Code of the City of Saratoga Springs for the Gateway Overlay Parking.
Okay, Mayor and Council, so on staff level, we are looking at and dealing with continued or an increased development activity or proposals within our gateway areas. One of the proposals that came forward recently brought to our attention a problematic situation that we have within our code, which I think there was some good intention with the concept of not having parking between the building and an arterial or collector road so that it was just landscaping, have that nice appearance that way. However, in several of our gateway areas, we find some problematic situations where some lots are not that large. They front both on an arterial and a collector, and it forces the parking into situations that makes it difficult and sometimes impossible to use the property in a good manner. Attached to your staff report was a analysis that was done by Kent Page, looking at all the properties where we could see potential problems with those situations in various areas of the city. So what we're proposing is to change the verbiage regarding parking in the gateway area to allow for parking between a collector and the building, not the arterial, or in such cases that they're fronting on two arterials, that they would be allowed to park on one of those, or between the building and the road. There would still be a landscape setback and everything else that's required with architecture and such. So any questions in regards to that proposal?
Yeah, is there a way to prioritize arterial?
That's exactly what I had.
Okay.
Like, I don't like that they get to choose. I think we should be able to choose which arterial we think is.
All right. All right, then.
That's exactly.
Yeah, because we're on the same wavelength here, right?
So like if it's Crossroads Boulevard, let's say, and then there's another chair, I want to make sure Crossroads Boulevard is the protected one because
the
that's
gateway.
the main gateway.
Yeah.
So.
Yep.
Not Riverside or whatever, yeah.
Right.
So,
So that would only be in a few situations where there are two arterials.
yeah, it's only when you have
Yeah.
this two arterial roadways, parking areas may be allowed between the building and one of the arterial roadways based on staff recommendation or something like
As
that.
designated by planning staff or.
I have no problem you guys doing it because you know I don't think that we have to, Chris. Do you
No.
think? Yeah.
Okay.
Just, we need to have standards for when you choose between the two,
The main arterial.
because this isn't an administrative decision. You can't just
Okay.
leave it up to.
Can we
your
say the
discretion.
main arterial?
I guess that goes back to my question. Is there a way to
Yeah, staff could-
categorize arterial roads, priority 1, priority 2? Do we need to go back and,
Staff could come up with some standards.
if staff could come up with some standards and we could look at it again, that'd be great, because
I'm not comfortable
We're both
with
on the
this.
same wavelength.
I'm not comfortable with this because it's cheaper to put the parking next to the main road. That's why so many businesses do it.
So on this, if you're ready to move forward with this or with all of it, great. If you want to table this portion of it or whatever, however you want to move forward with it, we certainly can come back to you with clarification on those standards, because to Kevin's point, if it's an administrative decision, we just need to clearly articulate what the policy is so that we know how to enforce it without it causing a problem, because
Does
we're
this affect-
legislating.
Does
I
this
think
affect
that-
business item 2?
We do have different classifications of arterials already, and so we do have a higher classification of arterial. Jeremy could probably say specifically what those are. So we could clarify that what are the two types of arterial? There's three.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that classification.
So we could add,
It needs to go to the least, the parking lot has to go on the least, like the minor, then major, then, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
they can't do the primary. the whatever.
The major,
No, there was one above major, principal.
right.
Principal basically is where we think Redwood's gonna be 7 lanes in the future. Major is where Redwood or Pioneer is gonna be 5 lanes in the future, and minor are some areas where it's 5 lanes, but it doesn't have that 30-foot buffer.
So Jeremy, for clarification, if one is categorized this, the other one's got to be less? They can never be equal, right?
Well, theoretically, you could have,
You could have.
Let's review this more.
Yeah.
Let's take
Could
it
have
back.
2 of the same classification, that is possible.
Okay.
Not ready.
if you're not comfortable moving forward tonight, kick it back to us with.
Sounds like that's what the council wants to do, is kick this one back.
I can make that.
This one does impact the application right after this.
Yeah, the next item, it would impact the next item.
For example, Pioneer and Redwood at that intersection are both the same classification.
Okay.
So,
For today.
I mean,
So do we,
On the
not
exception, why don't we just add if approved by city council? Then it makes it semi-legislative and, yeah, nod yes, don't nod no.
Sorry, I have to say no, because you're acting in administrative capacity when you make decisions on land use applications, so the same standards apply to you as they do to staff, where you have to have standards that guide your decision.
Could we just
That
say,
that
as
doesn't
determined
apply-
legislatively by council?
That doesn't apply, obviously, to rezone and code changes and stuff like that, but
I don't want to legislate, so we have to just push
Fine.
one.
this change is legislative, but as the application of that, when it comes back to you, it would have to be administrative and have sufficient standards.
Could we just make it, approve it condition on a prioritization to be
determined by
scheduled
staff?
and approved by council? So we can get it conditionally approved and move on.
I don't know, Kevin, is that something we could do?
We do that all the
A
time.
conditional approval that you will then create a classification?
Yeah, you can pass the amendments with that further one, or that other additional clarification to come in the future. And then that, for the Thrive project, I think that'd be okay.
Because then we can make an
Thrive
exception
project
for them
and-
if we choose to do that.
Yeah, because they only have frontage on one, so that's not gonna really affect them.
Do they have frontage on both?
No,
No.
theirs is more of a arterial and a collector,
Collector.
not the arterial and arterial situation. So the first part of the amendment would allow them to move forward,
Because they need to put it on the collector, not the arterial.
right?
Yeah, okay. All right, then, I don't want to make a motion,
I
but
was going to say,
I can do it. If
Okay.
we're ready.
You ready, Ken?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll move that we approve business item 1 as stated on the agenda, including staff findings and conditions, adding another condition that we will at a future meeting clarify the exception when there is 2 arterial roads, that will be subject to a prioritization to be identified by the council.
Okay, I have a first from Councilman Wilden,
I'll second that. That was good.
second from Councilman McComber. Any further discussion from the council?
Did that work, Kevin?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, we can just pass, well, this will be one ordinance, and then we can draft another ordinance that adds that additional clarification. Maybe like a sub, or I don't know how we'll number it, but we'll figure it out.
Thank you for directing us to bring that back, that code amendment back.
Perfect. Okay. McComber.
Aye.
Wilden.
Aye.
Wadman.
aye.
Carn.
Aye.
Barton.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. We have business item 2, Thrive Daycare.
Okay, council and mayor, we have a site plan for a daycare operation on Thrive Drive, which is we did refer to. This was one of the properties that would be impacted by the previous legislation. We do have the applicant here that can speak to this project.
They're welcome to come up if they'd like.
You can sit here at the table.
Briefly, I'll just present it. So here's the location, just north of Pioneer Crossing and right on Thrive Drive in the area that's highlighted in yellow boundaries. Currently 3 parcels, but there is an application underway, that one lot, which is approvable by the planning director. So that will be hand in hand with the site plan approval. Development is about 60,000 square feet of a building, and the parking stalls exceed that which is required. And so here shows the proposed site plan layout, which is putting parking against the collector, which is Riverside Drive. And Thrive is not a collector, so it was just that one that we were concerned about there. And then here's a proposed arrangement for the drop-off pickup, for making a circular motion through the project. They have to do that. And we've got landscaping plans that meet the requirements, irrigation plans, elevations of the building. Any questions? Planning Commission has reviewed this and recommended approval.
This is a daycare facility?
Yes.
How many kids are in a class?
I'll defer to the applicant.
The approximate estimate we were given was about 100 kids total for the facility.
Are they all at the same drop-off and pickup time?
No, there'll be a range of drop-off and pickup times. It's not like a school where it's bell rings, everyone's in. It's usually drop-off happens in a window of about 2 hours on both sides, both drop-off and pickup.
So 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours in the afternoon, you're gonna have 100 cars coming through.
Yeah.
What kind of, in your parking lot, how many cars can queue?
I think we counted 17 by one count.
So we've got potential cars flooding out onto Thrive Drive and into Riverside Drive with those numbers?
And onto Pioneer Crossing, technically.
Could be, yeah. I mean, that's my only concern here
Because
is
if you had 30, even 50 cars, if it's,
your parking lot holds 17
well, and that's the queue.
in the queue line, yeah,
What about all the people who are parking in spots trying to get out? And
yeah.
Typically, I'm sorry, I don't know if this is like a,
No, yeah.
It is, yeah.
okay. Typically, the parking in the stalls happens by staff before and after the drop-off periods.
That makes sense.
And then if you stretch 100 cars over 2 hours, it tends to not get too bad on the stacking. I don't deny that there might be some peaks. You know, if people are going to work and they tend to have to start at 9 and their commutes are similar. But we've seen a pretty good distribution on some other sites. There's only one in Utah so far of this particular brand. It's called Learning Care. But they're one of the larger ones nationally. And typically that 2 hour window has a pretty good stretch because again, it's not a start time or stop time. It's when people have to go to work. Some people got to be work, you know, at 8 or 10 or depending where they're at. So, but yeah, definitely a possibility. Unfortunately on this site, unlike some other sites, we do have a full circular system, you know, and it's not people pulling in and driving out or dropping off near the street or something. So, but yeah.
Mayor?
Yes.
So I have a couple concerns. The conversation we just had, you're basically putting the parking lot coming in, when you're coming in over the hill, over the river, you're looking at a parking lot, not at the building. The whole purpose of this, and I think this is what staff is saying, this is a concern, is because Riverside is a major road, but the Thrive and then the, what's the called, the other road, I can't see it, the
Devonshire.
Devonshire, the parking should be on that side, not on the side of Riverside, because the whole point of it is when you're coming in, you're looking at a big parking lot, and that was what we're trying to avoid. It doesn't look like it's going to work on this because of the way you have the playgrounds and things, but I would really hope that maybe we can have some conversations with staff and see if we can't make it work, because I don't love the idea that that parking lot is on Riverside. And then, does this building meet the elevated standards that we have for our gateway overlay? It doesn't feel like it. It feels, nothing against your design, it feels like potentially a church building. That's what I first thought of. It doesn't feel like it's elevated. We have certain requirements in our gateway overlay. Has that been evaluated?
Yes, it has, and there are just limited architectural upgrades that are part of the requirement for the gateway overlay. That was looked at, and this meets what was in there. We considered at one point doing a much deeper architectural requirement overlay with this, and we are actually bringing forward some additional design requirements should be in front of you in October for the gateway overlay.
It's too late
But
for this
But
big
what
building.
exists currently does not.
It's too late for this building.
Yeah.
I think to Councilman McComber's point with the parking lot on the one end, I think that's doable. That's what I was, the shrub tree plan that you just skipped back to, Sarah. You know, if it's screened right, I think that's still doable, because it's a smaller parking lot.
Yeah, trees just don't grow very big. I don't know if you're berming it. Are you gonna be berming it?
Not in that spot. The code does require some enhanced landscaping, so we have some taller trees right there. If you can, there's right on the hard corner, we have evergreens that are a little bit taller.
Your evergreens will die, but that's okay.
We'll water them, especially, and then if you wouldn't mind, Councilmember, we wanted the building on that side initially. That was our hope, and to put the parking on the other side. The gateway overlay has a few other requirements, though, one of them being a 25-foot setback from all sides. And because this parcel kind of wedges out like that, the building wouldn't even fit quite in that setback in addition to the playgrounds that we need behind it. So, you know, we wanted to be on the same page, but
Sometimes buildings just don't fit. Like, I know that that's not what you want to hear, but sometimes development just doesn't work in a spot that's been, the way they did this like bump thing, and it's a weird,
yeah.
with the driveway into the huge building. I mean, it's just,
Parking can't complain. I have a question. Do you know what you may not know, and this would help alleviate my parking concern is, do you know what's kitty corner from you? On Pioneer Crossing, so across from Central Bank? Do you know what the plan is for that piece of land?
I don't know. We're not involved with that, and I've
Okay.
not been made aware.
Because that's gonna, whatever goes there is gonna shield that parking lot. You're not
to
gonna
a
see,
degree,
you won't see it from Pioneer.
you will a little bit when you're coming over the top, but not.
Yeah, potentially.
But then also when you're driving north and south on Riverside, which is a major road in our.
This might have already been.
That's true.
Well, on the backside of this, between the residents' home, between the residents and is there going to be a fence? I mean, I know we have codes, but
Yeah.
what is back?
There's a PUE on property line, it's 5 feet.
Okay.
And then per code, we're not allowed to put any fencing or retaining walls in that. There is a slight grade difference, and the code requires that the fence between those two uses be measured from the higher side.
Okay.
So we're coming back 5 feet, not putting anything in the PUE, planting gravel. Then a retaining wall that is 2 feet on the east end, and then it tapers to nothing by the time you get to the west, and then the fence behind that. If that makes sense.
I love the sound of kids. We live right by an elementary school. I love it.
Oh,
But-
good.
Just, I mean, I don't know. So that should be high enough for,
Yeah, it'll feel like an 8 foot at some parts
Okay.
of the neighbor, and then a little extra 5 foot step back as
Okay.
well. But
okay, thanks.
Okay. Any other questions? Council, if not, I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we deny Thrive Drive daycare site plan located at 204 East Thrive Drive, Logan Johnson as applicant, based on the gateway overlay, parking location, and shielding of landscaping minimal that doesn't meet the intent and purposes of the gateway overlay.
Okay, I have a first from Councilman McComber. I have a
Second.
I have a second from Councilman Wadman. Any further discussion?
Can we put this in context of what we just approved? I understand what we approved on the parking, or the prior thing, but
They would have to move the parking based on what we just approved over onto Devonshire or whatever,
because
because that's the lower grade road.
Primary, yeah.
Was that only on arterials we were talking though?
It's if you're sandwiched between two major roads, then you have to go to the lesser.
That's just in reference to an arterial or a
That's what I thought.
collector.
But so then they wouldn't be able to go next to Riverside at all, because they don't have two collectors on both sides.
But I don't think they're accessing, does the parking lot access Riverside Drive? I can't see it from this distance.
No.
So the parking is coming in off of Thrive Drive as opposed to Riverside Drive.
Well, the amendment that was just discussed would allow what you're seeing here. If we don't pass that amendment, well, I mean, if for some reason you changed your mind and rescinded that, then it would not allow this.
Okay, so help me understand then the amendment that we just did, because Where is the double sided?
That's when we have two arterials. In this situation, we don't have two arterials. We
So then
have-
how can it be on a major arterial? We don't allow it.
Well, this one is a collector. It's a different type of road. So
So
there were-
Riverside is considered a collector.
Right.
But eventually it will be bigger.
No, it'll stay a collector. So the code in place said they can't have parking between a collector in the building or an arterial in the building. But then we had situations where we had corners that had arterials and collectors, and this one doesn't. This one just has the collector.
So we remove collector completely from our gateway?
Yes. Well,
We just did that?
No.
How come that wasn't outlined?
No, we didn't do that.
no, we didn't remove it from the gateway. It's just, it does allow for collectors to have parking between the building.
But it wasn't before?
Right.
How come that wasn't outlined in the key points, Ken? When you just went through that, you did not say that the collector was, I missed that when I read through it.
I'm sorry if I didn't make that clear, but I felt like we did present that.
I don't remember you saying once that the collector was being removed. We all talked about was the double-fronted arterial. I'm seeing nodding from some of my,
That was the second part of the, I can go back to the verbiage on that. So the first part, it crosses out the collector streets. And then the second was the exception where we're talking about two arterials.
okay, so when this comes back, I'm gonna be probably making a new motion to put collector back. Because that's the whole point of this, is Riverside is, again, it's a major road, people are seeing it when they're coming in. It just, once again, why the hell do we even have a gateway overlay? We have a beautiful space center, car wash coming in, we've got this steak center coming in with parking lot facing. I'm just getting so frustrated. Why do I even make an effort anymore when we just make exceptions whenever they come up?
So we do have a motion on the table. Any other discussion on it? Not, we'll do a roll call. Wadman,
Aye.
Carn,
Aye.
Wilden,
Nay.
McComber,
Aye.
Barton.
Aye.
Motion passes 4-1. Okay.
Can I ask a clarifying question, Mayor?
You bet.
The condition, the reasons given for the motion that just passed was that it doesn't meet the gateway parking requirement. Does that, did that ordinance just change 10 minutes ago?
It did, yes.
Okay. Would you, okay.
So if you want to change that code, the bylaws state that that motion should be reconsidered during the same meeting, preferably. It's not a mandatory requirement, but it should generally be reconsidered.
Well, I move to reopen item 1.
Is that what you're saying, Kevin? Was we have to reopen item 1?
Under your bylaws, it says a motion for reconsideration should be done in the same meeting if possible.
Okay, so Councilman McComber's making a motion for reconsideration of item 1.
Right.
We just need a second. Mark?
No, I was just going to clarify, and as this last conversation was happening, it became apparent that there was some confusion on what the original amendment did. So, to Kevin's point, this would be allowed by the bylaws for you to be able to do that.
Okay, so I have a first from Councilman McComber.
I'll second. Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
I have a second from Councilman Carn. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries for reconsideration of business item 1.
If I may state, and hopefully you're able to see that in the staff report, there are several maps that are shown there in the various gateway areas where we have identified problematic situations. That is one reason why this has been brought forward.
The problematic area was more of the double arterial frontage. Collector is because you had an applicant who wanted a parking lot on a collector, correct?
Not necessarily. There are collector arterial situations in some of the other areas, and
Right,
even
and
some.
so in that situation, then the collector would be the lesser of the two, and we can make, that's what we're coming back with the amendment. But if there's no double frontage and it's just collector, then I believe, me personally, I think it should be arterial or collector streets, exception, when a property has frontage on two arterial roads or an arterial and a collector, then it can front the collector. That's how the amendment needs to come back. Does that make sense?
So if you would like us to make that change, we're happy to do so. Just please direct us to do so on that motion, and we can bring that back.
Does it
And
make
then
sense?
The other
I
thing.
didn't understand.
So if you have an arterial, you can't be fronting a collector if you have no other, if just like this situation, right? But if you have an arterial and a collector double frontage, then the parking lot has to go against the collector because the arterial trumps it. And so then it would be on the collector. But if it's just a collector and there's no other, all there are minor roads, you have to move it off of the collector.
So going back to the prior discussion, I know that's a different item. So what we're saying is they can't park anywhere.
They can't park on the collector, they can park on Devonshire or Thrive.
But they can't do that because the building doesn't fit, right?
Because there's four
Thrive
roads
is,
around it.
Thrive is a collector. No, I'm
No,
sorry.
Thrive is not.
Riverside is the
Side.
collector. What is Thrive's
A
classification?
local street.
A local street. So
Devonshire?
Thrive and Devonshire are both local.
So the parking basically just needs to move to the west side of the lot.
So,
So Mike, I'm not disagreeing, but I have a question. If the parking is accessing the local street and not the collector,
It's frontage though, it's fronting it.
okay?
Because it's based on the fronting, it's not on the access.
I'm wondering if it might help for us to walk through the visuals a little bit more specifically and why we proposed that with this consideration.
The thing is, but again, this is going to come up in a little bit later, when we make an exception and we make code change, all the other collectors, everyone wants to put your parking closer to, they just do. And that's why we have nice buildings along Redwood Road and we don't look like Orem, you guys, because we don't have all these parking lots along State Street with their big ugly signs. We have pretty buildings and landscaping. The worst we have are some drive-throughs. And it makes our Redwood Road look a lot nicer than what you see in West Valley, West Jordan. South Jordan did like us. They've got nice buildings, parking is up, but they didn't catch it right away. Go down there and you're gonna see a lot of parking along Redwood Road because they didn't catch it. And so this is, when we make a change here, it's gonna be changing across the board. And we need to, the whole point of this is to move parking off of visual access points.
So can we explain a little bit to me a little bit more, like the impact, right? Like why this came to us? Like where's like the impact for the other areas and that kind of thing?
Right, so I'll go back to a couple of visuals that
I mean, I know we have in the staff packet, but if you would kind of explain a little bit, that'd be great.
Yeah, so I don't have all of the visuals that are in your staff report. There's
Yeah.
several of them shown there, but I do have a couple here to show examples. So this is on Pony Express, and on the, what
Mount
is it for
Saratoga.
you? On the, which would actually be the east side, so we're north of Pony Express there on those two properties.
Saratoga Road's going
Mount
north.
Saratoga Road is in between there. You've got that smaller piece, which is about an acre. Mount Saratoga Road is a minor arterial? Is it just it's a collector, okay. And then you've got Pony Express, which is a major arterial. So that would be one situation where you've got a collector arterial. So we could, if we're going to amend it to allow for the lesser of the two, then we can say.
This would be on the collector. The
Right.
parking would be against Saratoga Boulevard.
So that's just one situation.
So it would,
Then we're back over here to the Thrive Drive situation. So those properties that they were proposing, they just had the collector there, but because of the size and shape of the property, they found it difficult to prepare their site plan for that. And so that's why we looked at that. These are the only two that I've got on the presentation here tonight, but there are other situations of potential impact.
but if we allow it on the collector, it works.
If we allow on a collector and not on.
If we allow it on a collector when there's an arterial, but not on the collector when there's not.
Yeah.
So it worked on the Mount Saratoga by allowing it on the collector when there was an arterial involved.
Mayor Council, it appears that there's some still hesitancy on moving forward with this. This parcel is particularly unique because it is three-sided, and it certainly, I don't know if the exhibits necessarily gave an example of kind of an island parcel that's on three sides or a peninsula parcel. So if this is something you're not comfortable with tonight, you could table it, and, we could possibly, work with one or two council members that have concerns on this, rework it, come with the clarifying language that we discussed earlier, and bring it back to you at a future council meeting, as opposed to moving forward with it being an adopted ordinance tonight.
Okay, so procedural question, we reopened business item 1.
I would want to reopen 2 and table it.
Yeah, you would, so what you do is you'd vote now to table item 1, and then 2, you'd have to
Reopen 2.
reconsider that. And that's just the same process. Whoever voted with
I'm
the
okay with
majority has
Yeah, I don't care
to.
the two, I don't disagree with you on
I would like to be one of the two, Mayor, if I could, just because I'm pretty passionate about this, as you can hear. But I absolutely would like to table item 2 then.
So then,
And have to start over.
Mayor, procedurally take a vote on this, and then
Okay,
back and
we'll
consider
entertain a
that.
motion on tabling item 1.
So made.
I have a first from Councilman McComber,
Second.
second from Councilwoman Barton. Any further discussion?
I would just like to make a comment. I'm going to vote for this. I was aware they were removing collectors, but I was taking it from a different perspective in the context that I don't want to put parking over next to, and I know this isn't exactly what we're talking about, but push it over to a local road or an arterial that fronts homes. So that was my perspective. I would rather have parking where there's a lot of traffic versus impacting homes. That's not necessarily here, but that's, I was aware we were taking off collectors, and that was
So
what I
as
was
we're
thinking
meeting
about.
off-site, we'll take that into consideration.
Yes, and that's where, to me, I always want to protect the,
person.
no, I don't, but I'm
I
happy
can
to
take
do
that into
it.
consideration.
I'm happy, I mean.
Can that happen though, Mark? Like if we take that off? I mean, like,
don't know whether
I
that
agree with Stephen on that. Like, I would rather affect the busier roads than the homes.
And I think that that's one of those points to consider, because, for example, in this particular case, if you move it to Devonshire, it would
Push
be
it
probably
closer.
It
more
does.
impactful on the resident
Yeah.
homes. And so, but that's actually probably something that should be clarified in the language that looks at the prioritization and look at the impact to residential compared to commercial. And that could be one of those factors that gets brought into that discussion of how do you choose? In this particular case, you have collector, you have 2 locals.
It doesn't, because really it's just going to move down Thrive, and they're going to do the same loop
Yeah.
on the other end. So it's,
You could get queuing pushed into that neighborhood.
So that could be.
I get it. I get what
something
you're
could-
Anyway, that was my whole point, and like, anyway, it was clear to me why I was approving it. I just want to make that point, but I think going back and looking at it and revisiting it,
Okay, if I may just throw in one comment, what Mark brought up about the uniqueness of this particular property. In our other gateway areas, we basically created a boundary between the arterial or the collector and the properties that we're in. In this situation, I remember there was some conversation as to whether or not we should extend that gateway overlay to include those properties on the north side of Thrive Drive. So we did have a little back and forth, and it ultimately, of course, did get included in the gateway area, but it's not a property that fronts on the main arterial, which is usually what we're trying to accomplish with the.
and Michael, while
you're just going to piss me off more, Ken.
Okay.
The whole point of this was because it's the view corridor, and you're coming over the top of the river, and that was why we included it, because it's part of the view corridor. Thanks for opening a can. From
Okay.
the previous discussion, I'm happy to pull up the minutes and notes from before.
Okay, roll call. Wadman? Aye. Karn?
Aye.
Wilden? Aye. Whatever your name is. McComber?
Aye.
Barton?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously to table item 1. I'll entertain a motion to open item 2.
So made.
I have a first from Councilman Karn, second from Councilman Wadman. All in favor?
Clarification, you don't mind, you voted with the majority, correct?
Yep.
Okay, that's the only rule that you have to, the council member who voted with the majority has to make the
He's the
motion.
only opposition.
Yeah. That's
Can
fine.
I make one comment, though?
Yes.
Now, when you're looking at it, sorry, I shouldn't say Michael, Councilman McComber, Honorable Councilman McComber. If for some reason we get to an agreement that, hey, they can do this on Riverside or whatnot, I'm not saying we're going there, but if we do, I would say in those type of scenarios where this might exist, we require like large berming or something to screen it.
That's what I was actually, you're
So-
right on the same page with me. Thank you.
Yeah.
I was thinking.
Thank you, Honorable Councilman.
Perfect. I will entertain a motion to table this.
You already did?
No, we opened
We
it.
opened it. So I'll move that we table business item 2, Thrive Drive Daycare Site Plan, located at 204 East Thrive Drive. That's all I have.
I'll second.
Applicant, okay.
Okay, I have a first from Councilman Carn, second from Councilman McComber. Any further discussion or attorney comments? Okay. Wadman. Aye. Carn.
Aye.
Wilden.
Aye.
Comber.
Aye.
Barton.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
So you're not done.
Okay.
It's opened.
Item 3, adopting mixed waterfront design standards.
All right, Mayor and City Council, this is an item that's coming back. This was presented to the City Council in a work session where we discussed this, and we went into great detail on what the code would accomplish. It's a design standards for the mixed waterfront zone. This is coming back tonight. We've implemented the feedback that we received from the work session of the City Council. So just as a reminder, the mixed waterfront zone is in these 3 areas, Pelican Point, there's an area on the bend of the river there, and then also on the north end of Utah Lake. You can see that in kind of the light blue color on these maps.
Where's it at the bend of the river? Can you go back to that?
Yeah. Yeah, so just as a frame of reference, if you see the red down at the bottom of the screen there, that's kind of where Pioneer Crossing is.
Yep.
So this is just north, kind of north of Pioneer Crossing.
Pony.
It's kind of tucked away back in there.
Okay.
It's owned by a person, the Chew property, that's what we call it. But it's an undeveloped piece of land.
I don't want to take it on a tangent. Waterfront zone in the Wander property on the river
Is there one in the Wander property?
from there?
They came in.
No,
That's under DAP.
right?
Okay, all right,
They got it grandfathered.
yeah.
Yeah, so that one came in before, but these ones we've outlined as where we want the mixed waterfront to go. And so we've kind of preserved that in our general plan and the land use element. And so anybody that comes through here, they would, have to follow the general plan
Did we
and,
reduce some of the mixed waterfront 2 weeks ago in the south end of the city?
Right.
Is that shown here?
Not yet, no.
Because we reduced quite a bit, remember you guys?
2 weeks ago,
3 weeks or whatever.
What changes like agriculture?
Because we changed it to ag. So if we can just make sure that gets updated in the package.
On the land use map, right?
okay, we would have to
Yeah.
This is,
update some of these diagrams in the document.
I don't think it's official yet. I think we had a work session, so I don't
Yeah,
think we've
it's gotta go
changed.
through plan.
Yeah, we haven't changed it yet.
That was work session.
that was only work session.
Yeah,
And that was just Pelican Point too, right?
it was just the south.
Just down Pelican.
Right, the image that says Pelican Point, it was the south part of that image.
Yeah.
We had a work session on changing that, but we haven't brought that to you yet.
Okay, so don't change it until we've changed. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, so, the way this document would work, the general plan would take precedence over that, so however we end up amending that, that's gonna guide whatever happens in this, so that'll trump it. So just a quick recap, the purpose of the mixed waterfront, it's pedestrian-oriented, connected street networks, public access to the waterfront, and community gathering spaces are kind of a focus. This is a conceptual image of what we're seeking. You can see kind of shops down below, residential above. It's a mixed use with a pedestrian focus. So you can see one of the requirements is that the buildings have to be set back 8 feet to kind of allow, they can have like these little colonnades. It kind of creates little balcony spaces. It kind of opens up the area on the street front.
It's a great picture, but it doesn't meet our architectural standards because it's all one material. So I
Right,
think giving
this-
examples to developers to use, and say,
So this image is showing not the materials. I guess the building is blank and white in this conceptual image.
you're not allowed to have a single code.
Right, and it'll get
Right.
into it. It'll-
Correct.
I'm just saying, I don't like using images that are against our code, because then people can use it against us. I've had it happen many times.
Yeah. I guess the main focus of this image was to show the architectural features. So you can see the corbels, you can see the colonnades, you can see the separation between the first and second floors. But there are further images in the design guide that go into greater detail. So this is a breakdown of how the mixed waterfront works, basically showing that there's a waterfront, there's a boardwalk, then you have a building, then you have a street, and then another building on the other side. So this is kind of like a top-down looking at how that would be set up. And then you can see that overlaid onto the map here to kind of show what that would look like. Pedestrian crossings are a focus of this, and we did talk about this in the work session. And one of the things that was mentioned is that we would have planters at the crossings, and so we did have that image added here. You can see that. The idea is to create a safer crossing and kind of calm the traffic as they approach these pedestrian crossings. Here again, this is just showing the pedestrian focus here. The building, as previously mentioned, is all white, so it's not, we didn't put materials in these images. This image here is just kind of giving you an overall idea of what the building would look like. It's broken into 3 pieces: base, middle, and cap. 4-sided architecture is a priority, so all sides it would have to be architecturally the same as if they were visible from all 4 sides. The use of parapets is a main focus to screen anything on a potential flat portion of a roof. And then also tower elements, corners, and primary buildings would be required on primary buildings and entries of buildings. So this image kind of is in the guide, highlights the first floor, showing that it has to have a minimum 40% transparency, and then it also has to be set back 8 feet. And then as you go into the guide, it shows that the use of colonnades, awnings, and canopies will be required. And also they have to have design elements that create a visual separation between floors, so they don't just blend in and look like one big plain side of a building. So it's a distinct base, middle, and cap. You can see here, this is the building middle. These are some of the key requirements there. It's distinct from the base and cap. 30% transparency, meaning windows. The windows shall be recessed and evenly spaced, and there shall be a change in material from the first floor. So they would have to do a different kind of material, and that's in the guide. Then you have the building cap, which would include the roof. Per the feedback of the council, 50% of the roof shall either be pitched or occupied. So that would be something like a balcony or area, a place where people can walk around, kind of a thing. And so you can see on the top right, that's looking straight down on the roof of a building. And so the light blue is kind of those pedestrian areas where someone could have a balcony or a patio. And then the dark blue would be required pitched roof areas. And then, so really the white is the only flat area, and those would be screened by a parapet, kind of like that Disneyland effect. And so, yeah, it's distinguished with the cap overhang. Let's see, if the building is longer than 60 feet, greater than 60 feet, 2 or more of details shall be required. And then, so this image here, I wanted to show this. So if you look at this image, you see the one on the top actually has less flat it has less flat roof than the one on the bottom, but because the one on the bottom requires those little corbels down below, it actually looks more visually interesting and less plain. And so when someone does have more flat roof, they would have to have more architectural details on the sides of their building, those little corbels around the edges of the building to kind of give it that more detail. And then another requirement in our design guide is we have outlined street furniture, and so things like the garbage cans, tree grates, drinking fountains, special, particular kind of lighting, and then seating or benches would be part of that. And then finally, there's a section in there that outlines if you face the waterfront, you would have to have a boardwalk area. This would, and it would have to include a continuous promenade, basically a walkway along the waterway, pedestrian scale lighting. They'd have to include seating elements, bicycle and pedestrian focused. It connects to parks and plazas. It would be a great place to put public art and as well as gathering spaces and events and activities. So that's kind of the design guide in a quick nutshell. Did you have any feedback or questions for staff?
Councilman Comber?
Just a quick question. I did notice that you had to have different material by the next floor, but is there anything in our design standards that says that you can't have all one color? It just wasn't in this, so.
The colors?
The colors,
Yeah.
yeah.
Sorry, I'm trying to remember. Austin really.
Yeah, so
that,
this
I'd
guide
be able to answer that better than I can.
goes in conjunction with our current city code. So we have our current code, and you
Right.
have to have,
Yeah.
Multiple
They
colors.
have to meet the standards we already
so
have.
you'd still have three colors,
Yes.
it would be the standard one facing,
And I want to address your.
and then this is on top of that, yeah.
I want to address your concern about us showing a white building. We did use a consultant for these images, and we did have that discussion with them, because you're right, we don't want to mislead or show a building that doesn't represent the code accurately. One of the reasons we left it white is because materials and colors and styles change so much over time that we didn't want to put materials on a facade and then somebody come in 10 years from now and think, oh, okay, we're going to build what you're showing exactly right here. So we wanted it to look like a blank canvas in terms of the colors and materials, but not all of the other details that are
So I
required.
appreciate these ones here. These aren't pictures. When you include the picture of one, that's when it becomes a problem. Because just as much as you're like, we're requiring this, they're gonna say, well, how come you made this as the ideal example? So, I mean, I'm not gonna deny or turn down this, but I'm just saying this is a concern. We've had, I mean, Sarah, you and I have been doing this a long time. We've had people come in and say, but this is exactly like what's in your picture.
Right.
Just a quick idea, I'm just thinking on the spot, we could add like a little thing, like sometimes you have a little caption down below, and it says, this image is conceptual in nature only and shall meet the material standards of the city. We could have like a little subheading.
And it must meet current code or something like that. Yeah, that would be great.
So in the text, it actually says, it's D, page 14. It says building materials or colors between the building base and upper floors. And so if you're still concerned, we could then just make sure and add, if you're deciding to approve it tonight, add a motion that adds language in the design standards that ties back to our color and materials standards that are universal citywide.
I'm okay if it says it in D. I'm okay. I don't think we need to make it complicated.
This has nothing to do with approving it or not tonight, but do we have developers interested in this product in our city yet? Or is it just, we want to make sure we have it in place?
Right. We wanted to get ahead of developers.
Okay.
So we've had our first project go through in the mixed waterfront, that was the North Cove, and they had to come up with their own design standards before we approved the development agreement. The challenge that created, though, is there was a lot of pushback from the applicant, what do you want, what do we do? And then this will, over time, because these pieces will develop by different property owners over different time periods, this will create a uniformity throughout that mixed waterfront land use as we see it happen over time. So we wanted to get ahead of it.
Yeah, perfect, thanks.
Okay. If there's no other discussion, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve business item number 4, right? Adopting mixed waterfront designs, all three, adopting mixed waterfront design standards, ordinance 2439 dated today with all the staff findings and conditions.
Okay, I have a first from Councilwoman Barton. Second from Councilman Wadman. Any further discussion?
Do you need any conditions to address what Councilman McComber was stating?
I felt like it was okay. They
Okay.
addressed my concerns, so thank you. Thank you, Stephen.
Wilden,
Honorable.
Aye.
McComber,
Aye.
Wadman.
Aye.
Barton.
Aye.
Karn.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. On to business item 4. I feel like we're on 6 or 7, because we just keep moving back. But
We're going back to public
what's the
hearing.
Councilwoman?
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Because we did 1 and 2 twice.
Tonight, we have the Wander Village Plan 3 Amendment 2, Major Amendment. This is quite a simple amendment. What they're after is to change a few things on the lotting plan, just some moving townhomes around, not any numbers, particularly on the north end. And then they are asking to change their row of 6 attached townhomes to 8. And as outlined here. So with that, staff recommends approval. The developer is here. If you have any additional questions.
Do you have any comments before the council? Or just ready for questions?
I just wanted to add that this just gives us more flexibility to incorporate new designs and new housing types that we've experienced success with in other markets. So it's really just to improve the community.
Okay. Councilman McComber?
So when we originally approved Wander, we did not allow 8. We've not allowed it on others. So if we do this here, we're going to start getting everyone else wanting to have 8. The problem with 8, here it's okay to a degree because it's flat, but we have a lot of hills in our development, and so then you end up with really weirdness. My concern is you're saying that this is going to make the neighborhood better. I actually think it makes it less because you were removing view corridors. Pioneer Crossing, the reason why we didn't want big stretches of building is because it reduces view corridors. We've done an amazing job in this city. Our predecessors have done an amazing job along Redwood Road. It's our time now to make sure that we are preserving corridors the best we can. Secondly, I would have loved to have seen, yeah, we're going to do 8, but here's a benefit to the city and to the community. We're going to up the architectural standards of our buildings. You've done the reverse. In Wander, your original phases were beautiful. Your next phases are generic and they look like, I'm going to be bold, they look like communist buildings because they're gray, all the same, no color variation. I don't even know how. I've already complained to staff that it was a mistake by staff that we allowed those kinds of changes. I think that's a major amendment. I think you're in breach of contract with the church when they sold you this because they made it very clear that Wander was supposed to have a higher level of development and architectural to give you this huge amounts of density that we gave you at the heart of our city. Now you're asking for more density by putting 8 buildings together. I know you're not saying it's more units, and I appreciate the clarification that they're not asking for more units, but it will feel like it when you have 8 units side by side and they're all gonna look very uniform. It's all gonna be one color. You're gonna have all just vertical backboard, no variation, no nice paneling. I mean, I can literally take pictures of the first phases of Wander where we had the big press release, the big press conference, and the media was there, and you had these beautiful buildings, and then you start working your way north, and it gets uglier and uglier. And I really do believe that you're in breach, and I'm not going to personally approve 8 units in a row because I think it does the opposite of what we're trying to accomplish here in the heart of our city. I turn the time back over to the mayor. I'm on one tonight. I'm just having fun.
Okay, any other comments, or do you have anything you'd like?
I do. Respectfully, I hear you. I respectfully disagree. It's not unusual that a model complex has.
No, the whole neighborhood, not just the model, the whole front neighborhood by, let's go on a drive right now. By Holiday Gas Station, the buildings have 3 colors. They've got different types of material, bricks and wood and paneling and horizontal and vertical and parapets and little extra things. And you go across Pony Express, they don't look the same at all, but they're the same product. They're way, way less quality. And I actually went to the sales office and like, we had to do it in order to keep prices down. Prices aren't down, prices are up. You're charging a lot more for these buildings than you were the others, and they would have been a lot more expensive if we didn't. But you know what? You had a commitment to the church when they sold it to you. I really do believe that you're in breach in that, and I wanted to escalate that, and I haven't. I'm just really, and I could not believe when I looked on the agenda that you were coming in asking for more buildings when we were specifically clear why we didn't have. 8 buildings in a row, connected. That was so clear, and this is the perfect example of, I have a good memory. Maybe some people don't, but I remember what I talk about. I remember what I promise developers and what developers get. Let's get back to the fact that you guys put asphalt where you weren't supposed to, and we gave that to you because you guys made a mistake. There's so many things. You come back, you guys get your big approvals, they're 1,200 units, and then you come back like after 600 or 700, oh, we'd like to make this change because you think I'm gonna forget. I'm not forgetting.
Thank you. I do want to point out that Village 3 has the most open space of any of our 3 villages. It has the Riverfront Park. We're incorporating elements into the new design of the Riverfront Park in response from staff. We're adding wider view corridors, and I don't feel that blinking up an extra 2 buildings is going to decrease view corridors. I think in this instance, it's going to enhance view corridors.
I agree to disagree. And your open space requirements here because you had less open space than some of your other developments. Let's be clear, you have a requirement on your whole property and you've had more density, and this is the part where you have your gated community and then you're gonna have your nice open areas. But, I mean, and let's be clear, I am actually buying a home in the Wander neighborhood in the nice area. I wouldn't buy one in the other area. That's how clear this is. And the fact that you can sit here and say that your design standard hasn't reduced from south of Pony Express and north of Pony Express, seriously, you need to go drive your property if you haven't done it in a while, because it absolutely has decreased. I can't believe you're sitting here telling me that you don't believe it has.
We've met the design standards. We're not in breach with our obligation to the church via the contract. I respectfully disagree, but I do hear what you're saying.
So contractually, you think you're not. I would disagree, but you are admitting that your design standard has reduced. But you're still contractually your
I
obligation.
disagree respectfully.
You don't think that those buildings are less architectural?
Councilman Wilden has a comment and
Well, and
question.
more planning staff, can you talk through, like, to make sure I'm understanding the requested change in orientation of the homes? It looks like the back row, where there was 1, 2, like about 6.
We're trying to go from 6 to 8.
Well, I mean,
Are you talking about the lotting plan?
yeah, where
on-
it's showing.
In the actual village plan?
Yeah,
On page 7?
yeah, it's,
I'm looking at page 2.
well, what page are you on?
Sorry, page 7 of the village plan has the lotting plan,
I guess I'm looking on
or
our
detail
packet.
use map.
Page 2 of our
This one right
86-page
Picture
packet.
that's got the red bubbles around it.
Figure 1, figure 2.
Yeah, figure 1, figure 2, it's on page 2 of 86.
Oh, okay.
That one.
Sorry, you're talking about
Well,
this one, sorry, yes.
yeah.
So it feels like the back line, it breaks it up a little bit more, and then the front line.
So this is not an example of the 8, row of 8.
Right, this isn't
This is
showing-
just changing the lotting plan of this particular area.
Okay.
So these could be duets, these could be a row of 6,
Or 8.
or, well, not according to the lotting plan. Because the lotting plan, each unit is a townhome or
But we're approving so they can go up to 8.
yes, but not in this particular area. You're looking at these long rows down on the side, if you could, just on the corner of that, those would be where your rows of 8 are. So,
No, down on the bottom.
no, down on this, on the bottom,
There.
right through there. That's where your rows of 8 are. These are gonna be whatever, a row of 4 or a row of 6.
So
Right
we
in
say
this
we can make
particular
it a row of
area.
8, they can't put 8 there?
No, they wouldn't unless they changed their lotting plan again. The lotting plan, that we've been pretty specific on their lotting plan. So the lotting plan and detail use map that they have, if they're showing 6 units, they're gonna put 6 units there unless they come back in and change that.
But the whole point of changing this from 6 to 8 is because they're going to come back in and say, we now want to put 8 here.
Well, they have plenty of other places in the detail use map showing that they can do 8 units.
Why would they even have that they can do 8 when they weren't allowed to do 8?
What's the benefit?
it's a village plan, they can come in and ask for that change.
But
So-
why would they have a village, they're just assuming we're just gonna allow 8? They had in their village plan 8 when they're currently
Well,
allowed 6.
not necessarily, because they've been doing rows of, or duets. So in Village 2 and 1 are duets. They don't have multiple units. Village 3 is where those multiple attached units are. So the majority of their units are duets. They're 2 home attached. So here within Village 3, where the majority of the density it lies, they're asking to do the row of 8.
What,
clear, this imagery is not showing the only areas they're asking it. This is circled because it's showing this change here. But the request to change from 6 to 8 is in other areas not showing.
Got it.
Correct.
So, I mean, excuse me, I'm fine with the change in the layout that we're actually looking at.
That's not a problem.
What would be helpful is if we were to consider the 8, to look at where it's being like impacted across the areas. I think some areas it might be okay and some areas might not be okay, you know, per those comments. So at least I would be supportive of approving the layout change. And then if you want to move to 2 to 8, we just have a broader visual of the potential impacts.
We can actually pull that up in this, if you open up either the packet or the staff, go into the folder. And the village plan, the whole village plan was included in your packet. So if you go into the village plan portion at the end of the staff report, you'll see on page 7 of the village plan.
Do you know where the village plan starts?
The village plan starts in your packet for that.
Village plan area 3.
Village plan area 3, and then of that section, go to page 7.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough to get to, let's see.
Just what would be helpful, at least for me individually, in the future is have the page numbers that reference the materials that were.
Yes,
Wait,
I will. I
it's not just
apologize
you.
about that.
Like 10 years, we always have the same conversation.
Where? Village plan amendment? Is that where I'm supposed to be?
Is this what I'm looking
Are
at?
you able to get it, Sarah?
I'm in village plan 3.
Gina?
Yeah.
To the community, what's the value of a row of 8 versus 6?
Probably affordability in I don't know, that would be the developer.
It's probably affordability. Usually
Yeah.
the end units cost more, and so you would have less end units and more internal units. But again, I think the developer should probably answer that.
That the,
It's affordability, and it's how we interact with the open spaces. It's really about bunching the density so we can enhance the
What
open
page?
spaces.
But the density,
goes
This
back
way?
to your
This
question
it?
mark of price per square foot.
Okay, I found it on
Price per
mine.
square foot just go
You guys,
up.
it's page 32.
Probably.
Yeah,
you.
32.
If there's
here.
less end units, the price per square foot for the, on average, come down.
Yeah.
I think that it also, I think it lets them apply their density in a different way. And that may not be a tangible benefit that we can see here tonight necessarily. But again, it could be an argument that would be made.
So if I'm looking here on above the school site, right along the riverfront, you have 8, and then you have what, 5 feet, and then another 8. You're looking at 16.
Yeah, it
Because
would
what's our side requirement on a building of 6?
be- there would be a 10-foot in between,
So 5 feet on each
5
side.
and 5. Mhm.
So basically, I'm saying you're
Similar to North Shore,
16 buildings with 10 feet in between.
potentially.
Now we're looking at 16 units versus 12.
and that being said,
And you're not even lining up the 2 for a view corridor. The other building is offset, so your 10-foot opening looks at a building, and then you have an open, see the 2 open.
so Michael, I heard you say though that this doesn't increase density. It does increase density, right?
It
No,
doesn't.
it doesn't.
The same
Does not
number,
shift
it's how they're allocating those.
But you guys see what I'm saying, though? They had 16, and they have the divide here, and then they had 16 and the divide here. So the divides aren't even lined up for view corridor.
So in our discussions with the park concept, we have asked them to open up the view corridors. So this could potentially look different. We're still working on that concept due to parking allocation for the park. So we will be bringing that forward to you to show how we've asked them to open up the view corridors to be wider.
And that's not, just to clarify, that's not between buildings, that's these areas where there's a pathway.
Correct.
No, I'm talking about on the far right.
Right.
You've got I'm looking at like brown. It's these 16 right here, and then 16 right there, and they don't even line up, the view corridors don't.
Oh, I see what you're
Over
talking
here.
about.
Okay.
Yeah. And so,
And that could potentially happen in the lotting, or in the actual plating of it,
I mean, then you're sticking.
to happen.
8 more on the end, so you're blocking the amenity center with 8. I mean, it's literally 24 units with maybe 15 feet of view corridor with 24 units. And you know what? They're gonna charge more for these units because they're backing on the riverfront park. This is not affordability, let's be real.
So I'm still struggling since I guess I need like highlights and things.
That's okay. I can provide those.
Red highlights. I'm still having a hard time. I know what's in there, but I feel like I have to go to different pages and count individual numbers to figure out where the difference is. And I know it's hard to track changes with graphics. But that's why I got like overly focused on the thing that was circled red, because that drew my attention. I didn't really pay attention to the rest. I mean, at least for me, like, yeah, the density is staying the same, but if we are blocking the view corridor along the riverfront, I mean, what we don't want is people driving into the city like they do in 2100 North, thinking that's Saratoga Springs, and it's not, you know. I mean, for me, if we're gonna look at like increasing it to 8, I'm gonna need like circles and like more specifics. I know I can go through it, it's hard to identify it without like pulling up one and counting all the individual numbers, and then sometimes these are just lines, you know, it's conceptual.
Yeah, page 39 shows you, well, it's the brown. Sarah, if you could go to page 39. The brown is where the townhomes are. So those could be arranged from duets up to. Above the school site,
Right,
correct.
that's where I'm most concerned.
That's where Member McComber was talking about. So anywhere there is brown is where there are townhomes. So they have already submitted plating for the ones along Redwood Road.
This is
Sorry,
Riverside.
Riverside,
six.
sorry. We've been talking about
They've already plotted
Redwood.
an 8
They've
without even
already
getting approved.
platted, they've already submitted preliminary and final plats for all of the brown townhomes, all the way from Pioneer Crossing to Pony Express. So, we've got Wander K1 and 2, J3, 4, and 5.
So they submitted 8 unit,
No, those have not, those are all going to be duets, is what I believe they are.
Along Riverside, I'll do
Long-
it.
They're all duets,
on where? On
along
Pine-
Riverside Drive,
Does duet mean duplex?
duplex, so they're the two.
Don't show up on our GIS yet.
No, well, not yet. They're just
So
recent
these ones along
submittals.
Riverside, the brown along Riverside, when there's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, those are
Bunch
actually
of
Those two
duplexes.
twos, correct.
have the dark line like the other ones did to
No.
show the divide.
No,
But I think that this is demonstrating kind of that view corridor concept, that they're trying to preserve those corridors going back to the lake. From Riverside Drive, there's that progression of those green spaces back towards.
Yeah, but it doesn't help when you have a huge corner turn, that you lose the view corridor. I mean, they're like all on angles, like you can't, yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely a challenge, but in theory, where we're not increasing density, it's not an increase in density, it's a reallocation of it, and it's,
But it is a change to go from 6 to 8, Mark.
that is a change. I'm not disagreeing with you on that, but if the outcome is that they can enhance those view corridors for us, that's just not showing necessarily.
I don't believe them. I don't believe that's their intent. Let's be honest. You give them an inch, they take them out. We say 8, then they're gonna be all 8s. And the view corridors, because we won't be able to fight them on it. There's no way we can legislatively say, You have to provide view corridors. They'll say, we made a very good, the best we possibly could. We made a real intent. We here. And it's not affordability. I promise you that the units that back the Riverfront Park will be listed for more money than the other ones.
And I think there was a good point made that it's difficult to tell which ones are going from 6 to 8, and perhaps an exhibit that showed that would be helpful. I think that.
That's what
Yeah.
Councilman Wilden asked for.
So at least my standpoint, it's up to the mayor, but I'd be fine making a motion approving not the reallocation, what do you call it, the moving things around?
Up here.
The
The reorganization.
The reorganization, but then if you want to come back at another time with some visuals and like more specifics of how you would plan to maintain the corridor and stuff, I think then we could have a more,
Well, they need to show us where the 8s are going to be.
Right, yeah.
And I don't think they know.
but then that way it's not all theoretical.
If I might add for just a moment here, it's working in conjunction with the Riverfront Park design, which is still in process. So as we kind of pull and push on the Riverfront Park, it affects where we would want 6s, where we would want 8s.
Yep.
Just the open space stays the same. So if we bunch them, it frees up or
But if it-
or opens our ability to enhance the open space.
What happened to the parking that was supposed to be for Riverfront Park? I only see it on the very north end.
This is just the conceptual, so, I mean, that's coming back to you.
Well,
They
'cause we
have
have-
provided,
Plan.
yeah, so they,
It's near this area that says amenity center. It's just not showing up on this.
yeah, there will be some there and
is-
on the south.
And they've
I
added.
remember that too.
So it's just not showing up on this one because we're still working that into what the city is wanting.
Okay. Sounds like Councilman Wilden would like to make a motion.
I got to put it together. Is the first part what would we refer to, the organization, the reorganization?
You could just say you're approving all of the village plan amendment except for the change from the.
Okay, that's much better.
And table that portion of it to a later date when they provide more information on that.
Okay, I will move, are we still on 4?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. I'll move that we approve business item 4 as stated on the agenda. All items on there except for going from 6 to 8 units, and that can be brought back at another time with additional information. We don't need to provide a lot more on that. And including any other staff findings and conditions.
Okay, I have a first from Councilman Wilden,
I'll second that.
second from Councilman McComber. Any further discussion? Okay, Wadman, Carn,
Aye.
McComber.
Aye.
Wilden.
Aye.
Barton.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Business item 5, amendments to Title 19 Land Development Code for sign regulations.
Mayor and council, tonight we have the requested code amendment to our sign code by Raising Cane's. We do have Crystal Farrell here with her team as applicant. We originally, the planning commission saw this on the 6th of, June 27th. And the planning commission asked to table it and have staff work with the applicant to rework some of the language. And they came back with what is presented to you here. So what I did was I gave the original requested definition and then what we reworked as requested by the planning commission with the applicant. So as it states, the architectural feature means an additional element of the building facade, which is incorporated into the design and construction of the building. These elements can include both functional components such as walls and columns, as well as decorative or ornamental features like moldings, cornices, facades. We did need to go in and add this exception to the sign code. As the definition stands, this wouldn't allow for any type of extra feature that would show branding. Yes, go ahead.
Can I just ask a question before we get too far? What's the thought around on item 6, stripping out windows?
So the discussion in Planning Commission came up, we were looking at different businesses and how they have tried to work around sign code to show a sign, kind of, and Panda Express was one of those. You can see in the Panda Express window, the
big panda.
The big panda. And so staff felt that that would be something that we would want to eliminate for future. Yeah, so it's very challenging to try to look into our crystal ball and see what's going to happen with this sign code if it was approved in this way. And so we felt that windows presented a problem. We already have problems with, additional signage showing up in windows that we don't allow. And so we just wanted to make sure we covered that here.
Thank you.
So we needed, as you could see in the minutes and the staff report from the Planning Commission, we do need to change architectural elements to architectural features throughout the code to make it consistent with the definition. So we will do that. And then this was the originally requested verbiage for those architectural features. I just put that in there so that you could see what was originally proposed versus what staff and the applicant came back with after the Planning Commission meeting, first Planning Commission meeting. And just to kind of go through the highlighted portions, the architectural features shall be constructed of the same materials and colors as the rest of the facade, and and contain no written copy. Primary colors are prohibited. Now, we allow primary colors as an accent color. However, we felt in this situation as an architectural feature, we want it to blend as much as possible with the building. So utilizing those same materials and colors as the building is essential in trying to maintain semblance of what our current code requires. Architectural features shall step portions of the feature to create shadow lines and volumetric spaces along the facade, and shall not project more than 12 inches vertically and horizontally beyond the structure. So we tried to keep this within our site plan and architectural design guidelines of our building articulation. So we want to make sure that this feature would fit within that. And so we want to make it to where it's on just one facade, not multiple, and then it shall be the equal size, cumulative total size equal to 10% of one facade, and that it shall not exceed that. So these are what we came up with the applicant. However, staff still recommends denial based on the fact that we don't feel it meets the standards that our code is intending to. The applicant is here. She does have a presentation that she wants to present to you. I'll give her time to do that if the mayor is okay with that. Just use this to scroll down. Okay, thank you.
My name is Crystal Farrell. I am a consultant with Raising Cane's, and I want to thank you guys for having us here tonight. Also, I want to thank Gina and all the staff at Saratoga Springs Planning Department. I'm sorry, I was moving and I didn't mean to be clicking. Let me go back because this is an important part. All right. Oh, were you doing that?
Well, I don't know. Sorry, is this where you want to be?
Yes.
Because it's a PDF, not a PowerPoint, so that might not.
Oh, okay. I thought maybe I was. Okay, thank you so much. So I wanted to show, and you guys have probably, it's not very far from here, you probably have all seen it. It was a really big deal. It's an example of a very creative architectural collaboration between Raising Cane's and Post Malone. That is not what we will be requesting here tonight, but I wanted to show it to just clarify the fact that architectural features, and even in the previous presentation, are a branding trend. And so there are so many businesses across industries that are using architectural features. So Gina went through and already told you guys kind of what I wanted to make sure you guys knew. June 27th and the 15th, we went to the Planning Commission. We had a lot of really great discussions there. Definitely every question that they asked, we tried to address. And then, can you go to the next? Oh, I can. I got it. Okay. Originally, we did ask for artwork to also be added to the code. That's also something that across industries are utilizing and branding. But we actually came back and retracted that after speaking with Gina and her staff and my team. We decided that we would eliminate that from our request. This is the Raising Cane's Signature Red One Tower. This is what is standard across the United States and other countries now. It's made of recycled car hoods, so we thought that was pretty cool. But that was something that, as we talked to Gina and the staff before we went to that first Planning Commission meeting, she had said that is considered a sign, and it's also she didn't like the primary colors, or I'm sorry, she said that it was not likely to be approved by the Planning Commission members just because of the design and the color. So what we did, we came back, the first meeting that we had, we brought these photos of our one tower to the Planning Commission members, and they were still, they still ask about the material. That was something that they did not want to see on our building. So what we did was, after many discussions, we came back from the Raising Cane's team, came back and decided that we would use this brick, which is in line with the request that we are making tonight as an architectural feature, which Gina went through earlier. This is in line with some comments we received about having interesting creative architecture, that they would like to see that here in Saratoga Springs. And it is the same materials, so that we did come back and compromise. We took away the coloring, and it's the similar material and color. And here's the front elevation. And there's all sides. So what we're proposing is allowing architectural features to allow creative architecture with specific rules. These would be regulations so that no one could have a giant pink building here in Saratoga Springs, but they could have discrete branding that's aesthetically pleasing in Saratoga Springs. Here are some examples of architectural features with some other businesses. And like I said, this is a trend across all industries right now. I would love to answer any questions that you have.
Go back a couple of slides to where you had the elevations. Like right here, I like that you're working with staff instead of asking for the bright red or blue like Wilden wanted. For the one, I like that you're using similar brick. It's more subtle. It's not, it's loud. It creates character versus just another flat wall. That's what we keep asking everybody to do, is put some style or something into it.
Thank you.
Yep.
I just get a little nervous making exceptions at all, right? I mean, I don't know. So I have to say I'm a Raising Cane's frequent flyer. Like, we love it, me and my son. I've actually never noticed a number one.
Provo all the time.
And so that's, so for me, when I saw this coming, I'm like, they have number one on their buildings, right? I had no idea, right? And so for me, I was like, well, that doesn't make me not go or whatever. I mean, and I understand the branding side of it as well. But again, I've never noticed it, and we go there often. But I do get a little nervous. Like, I love the design, and I love like the coming back with this concept. Like, hey, we'd love to still do this. This is how we're going to do it. But I get a little nervous only because I don't know what that would bring in the future with other, with other people wanting to come in and do something similar, where it might not be just like a nice, very, very, very pleasing number one, like by the side. So I don't know, some feedback. I don't know what you guys think when it comes to future buildings and.
Oh, or Ken, wherever you are.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out, and this is a question that came up at Planning Commission, as shown on their visual there on the top, left corner, it shows the one and the materials and everything. It doesn't really show how that's intended to be a pop-out, like a 12-inch pop-out, not just a difference of brick on a flat wall. So just.
Yes, it does, yeah, it does extend out 12 inches.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Councilman McComber?
So I just have a concern when we make code change, because they were opening the door to other developments. You showed some examples that are where you gave me my argument. McDonald's comes in now in 2 weeks and says, we want to have a big arch on our building. Chick-fil-A says, we want to have a cow in brick on the side of our building. So, and I appreciate the compromise, but your compromise is because you went to the extreme and came back. There's really no compromise. Our code is our code. And so I always get nervous, or I don't like when people say that you've compromised when you're just asking for a variance. You're wanting a change. There's no compromise here because you didn't make any concession. We didn't give any concessions because what you're asking for is not allowed. And so for me, it's just all the businesses, because we've seen it. When we've opened up the window for other things, they all come and do it. When we allowed for a certain amount of stickers and windows for a particular business because it made sense, because of sun glare and things, all the businesses now pretty much have 20% or whatever of their window filled with, whether it's urgent care and all the different things, right? So, and the fact that it is a 12-inch, that's a foot. And I did notice that, but Ken, I appreciate you pointing it out. I did notice that when I was reading through. That makes it, okay, and listen, you guys, we said no to a previous business who wanted to put a big duck, and we didn't allow the big duck on Quick Quack. And so I guarantee you that if we do this here, Quick Quack will be in here as fast as you can throw a quarter out the window. I mean, it's going to be very, very fast. So I just really am concerned. I agree with Council Member Barton that when you make code change, it really does open a floodgate.
Councilman Carn?
Yeah, my comments have nothing to do with Raising Cane's. I'm excited to go get my chicken fingers.
I drive everywhere.
I guess I'm concerned with how we got here. I came from Planning Commission, and I'm just worried that Planning Commission is writing code with an applicant to make the applicant's application work, and giving them an idea that that's what the city council is going to support.
It should be a recommended body.
Right. So I'm concerned about that process, how we got here.
Especially where staff is recommending denial.
Right, right. So that's kind of a separate issue, that the planning commission is helping write code like
We haven't had a joint
that.
session on the two roles in a while, maybe.
Maybe something to look at. But I don't think I can agree to this for the same reasons that have been brought up tonight. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, any?
Can I wanted to talk about, so within the architectural feature code that we're requesting, it wouldn't allow for McDonald's to come in and do the big bright yellow M, and it wouldn't allow, or golden arches, I'm sorry. It wouldn't allow for those things. And
But they could come in asking for an exception as well. that's my concern, is that they could kind of write their own code, not that they did or anything they're saying, but they could, staff or planning commission, whoever could decide to change the code again to let the new company do what
Do
they
even more.
want, yes. So that's where I get a little concerned about it, is that this could be the next company that comes in 3 months saying, hey, we want to be able to do this, so can we rewrite the code for that?
But they could even come with just the same off-color brick and do an M.
Yeah.
It's a percentage of the building, and also, I do believe that you will see this again. I think because architectural features are highly trending now across the United States. It's a way for companies and businesses to use their brand while not just putting a million signs everywhere. It's actually a minimal, especially since it's the similar colors and materials. It's also only on one side and 10%. That is what will keep a giant panda from bright yellow, or a bright yellow duck from being on top of a building of a business being allowed.
Can we go back to the slide where you have those four different, where they're all together, sorry, go back.
Were there what? This one? Okay.
So the one that you're proposing, the one that.
No, these are all four sides of the building.
Yeah, so it's only on one side of the building. That was one of the compromises, is that we just have it showing on one side of the building and that it is the similar color and material as the building. So it blends in and it is aesthetically pleasing.
Small print, is that the entrance right there on, with the one? Yes. That would be a door entrance right there.
That's it's the front elevation, so it's their main.
Yeah, that's our front elevation.
That faces Redwood Road, no? Or does that face into Home Depot? Which way does your front elevation face?
Which way would the one face? It would face the street, but which street?
Yeah, I believe the second side is what faces Lake Drive. You've got Lake Drive on two sides, and I believe the front elevation is facing north. Because that is.
Towards the road up to Home Depot.
Yeah, I think so. I'm trying to think.
So basically coming down Redwood Road.
Yeah.
Right, Redwood.
The awning is along Redwood Road.
The rear elevation.
Correct, that's the drive-through.
Oh, the drive-through elevation 4
Drive-through elevation.
is Redwood Road.
It's hard to tell.
Yeah, I should have included the site plan.
Doesn't really matter.
Facing north.
Yes.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we deny amendments to Title 19 Land Development Code of the City of Saratoga Springs, Chapter 19.18, sign regulations, Raising Cane's applicant, ordinance 24-41 dated today, with all staff findings and conditions and per their recommendation.
I have a first from Councilman McComber.
Second.
I have a second from Councilman Wadman. Any further discussion? Carn?
Aye.
Wadman?
Aye.
Wilden?
Aye.
Barton?
Aye.
Comber?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Business item 6.
Do we need a short break?
2 minutes.
Called out at all, it's a sign.
Hey, Sarah. So I don't really want this on, guys. Why do we say sometimes can comply and shall supply? Why don't we just say shall
Are we in a
supply?
recess?
Yeah, we're on recess.
Okay.
Because it should just always say shall comply if it's
Okay, we'll call this back to order. I apologize for us taking a breather.
It's my
So thank
fault.
you for your patience.
I had to run to the bathroom.
I wasn't calling you out this,
Oh, yours is on. Dang
I
it.
wasn't calling you out this time.
That's not for the minutes.
Bold and highlight that for the minutes.
Wilden went to the bathroom.
Okay, business item 6, Redwood Square preliminary plat site plan.
Well, this is your last item for the evening. So here is the proposed preliminary plat. You're seeing 2 lots here. And then you're seeing a proposed site plan with 5 buildings. And this is the proposed landscape plan, which does meet the requirements of the code. And then these are the proposed elevations, which also have been reviewed against the architectural requirements and found to be in compliance. And there are a few conditions in this staff report. There are a few items missing that we just need to see on their plans. They've already resubmitted those, so we're checking them to make sure that they're there. With the conditions and findings, staff recommends approval.
Any comments from the council? Councilman Carn?
Yes, I do. I will preface this by, I like your products. We're a little underparked at times because you're super popular. My concern with this, can you go back to the picture?
Yes. The site plan?
The site plan, yes. The 2 buildings on the west, those were office buildings in the last version we saw, I thought.
We did rezone that
So-
from office to regional commercial with a whole list of restrictions.
Restrictions,
On
okay.
what can go in there.
All right.
Yes.
I remember that now. So are these being shown as drive-throughs now?
They are.
They're all drive-throughs.
They are all being shown with a drive-through.
And I remember we rezoned it with restrictions. I'm totally good with that. What is the fencing on the back compared to the residential homes there?
Can you answer that?
Yes, and it can be anything you want it to be, but we'll do something nice to make sure that it's, you know,
I just want to
screening.
make sure we're screened. I mean,
Yeah.
drive-throughs, you know, someone's sitting on their back porch and they hear.
Absolutely.
You know, I'm looking at sorry for the minutes on that one.
Yeah, do.
But that's my concern, and I know we rezoned it. We've already discussed this with the neighbors who were here. And so I'm now that I have that conversation, I'm more comfortable, because we did have a long list of restrictions on what we will allow in that
I need to
rezone.
now in the future make sure I have a restriction that you can't make drive-throughs on every building, but we missed that.
Yeah, we missed it. Yeah,
Because we miss things and then they take advantage.
yeah.
I will say this on the drive-through, if it's appropriate for me to answer that. Some of our, we don't have all the tenants, of course, lined up. We want to make sure we do it right. Tenant placement is really important, and we don't want just any old drive-through there. But the drive-throughs came in really handy during COVID, and it seems to be a very convenient way to do that, whether it's, and we do have an elevation change, from my understanding, on the fence. So the fence is actually a little taller than what's back there. So it'll be a little up from the grade of the homes that are neighboring that. But we're very conscious of the fact that, you know, there's light and sound that we have to watch and be very careful with. And so,
Yeah, but we went from business buildings, we gave you an exception.
Yes.
I was thinking it was gonna be businesses, but then we put 2 more drive-throughs through. I take responsibility for this. I
Yeah.
feel I missed it. I should have said no drive-throughs on this expansion. But I've learned my lesson. I now know that developers will do anything and everything whenever they have the opportunity, and I will be on top of that next time.
sure, I can appreciate that.
And COVID, we can't program for
Sure.
1 in 100 years. COVID was a 100-year thing,
Oh, I agree. Hopefully it never happens again.
2020.
Sure. Well, we think it's a good thing for,
For money.
well, I mean, everything is financially driven. We're trying hard to make this a good thing. So, I mean, yeah, you could call it financially driven, you bet. And so we think it's a good way to put businesses in there and to do the right thing. We want to do the right thing. We spent more money on architecture than most to hit your standards and above, and we're willing to do whatever it takes. And we came here with that in mind when we asked for the drive-throughs, and we would have not put them in had you said no. So we are so easy to work
You
with.
didn't ask us for the drive-throughs. You asked us to.
We did.
You asked us to convert from office the regular, like, regional commercial,
Which allows it.
We had exceptions, we did not say that you could.
Yeah. We actually did hit that, if you go back in the minutes, I can tell you that with absolute clarity, that we asked for drive-throughs on all buildings voted on. So, I mean, we're not trying to get away with anything. I know you alluded that developers do that. I don't try to get away with anything.
You know what, I actually do think I remember that now. I don't think I was thinking this clearly through it, but thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Any other, if not, I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve business item 6, Redwood Square preliminary plat and site plan located approximately Redwood Road and Aspen Hills Boulevard. David Merritt as applicant with any staff findings and conditions.
I have a first from Councilman Carn,
I'll second it.
second from Councilwoman Barton. Any further discussion? Barton?
Aye.
McComber?
Aye.
Wilden?
Aye.
Carn?
Aye.
Wadman?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
What I really wanted to say is when my dad was an architect back forever ago, he said he always wanted to be last on the agenda, no matter what.
All right.
He said he got way more yeses that way.
Well, that's good. Well,
I didn't want to say that because I didn't know how we were voting. Not that that's made any difference, but I
Well-
just vaguely, when I was on city council, he's like, I always wanted to be last.
I just want to make a point to you, and with sincerity. Thank you for what you do. I know that's a little bit of a thankless job. You guys do great work, and I love developing here. So I'm excited to help my friend David Meredith with this project. So we always want to do what's right. I do anyway. And so we'll prove
Do you have some
that.
tenants lined up?
We do.
All right.
We've got some great tenants.
Let us know when we can tell people, that's all, we always.
Absolutely.
Everybody
advertise
asks.
for
We
it.
always
We
do for you, so.
We're good advertisers for you.
Good, I would love that.
I have a question for Sarah. This is outside of this, but it's curious for you. The building that's there in the back, totally backing the houses, they have a huge plaza in front. The parking is quite far away from those buildings. Does our code have any, this is nothing yours approved, but do we not have any requirements that the parking has to be within a reasonable distance from the building fronts? Because that's quite a distance, and there's not very much parking in front of those 4 units, and so they're going to have to be walking from a lot further away.
We do have distance requirements.
This met all those.
Right.
Because they
yes.
only have 1, 2, 3, maybe 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 for 4 buildings that are in front of the building itself.
I can double check.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
My only ask is you don't allow the business Carn Massage Parlor to come in. He's been trying to get in for months.
Okay.
Drive-through only.
Yeah, it'd be weird.
Drive-through only?
He just has to stand out while you drive through.
That's the joke of the day.
I love this. We'll make it happen.
It's a COVID massage parlor.
That's
COVID
phenomenal.
massage parlor,
Don't
you're
trust
right.
a scalp massage. It hasn't worked.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mark just shared great news. We have no need for closed session at this point.
We don't?
Nope.
Oh, all right.
Okay,
It was going to be about you.
it was. It was personnel, and you were going to stick around.
It's about your massage
Okay,
business.
we'll close the